What's up guys, welcome back to another what if video. I just want to say thank you for the support. You guys absolutely crushed the like goal last time. So here's part 2. Before I begin, I want to address 3 things. First, about Mirio getting one for all. Many of you guys said that Mirio would get one for all since Deku doesn't have it in this timeline. And yes, I would agree, he would. Probably after the USJ attack, if not before. The second thing is, many of you guys were questioning why wasn't anybody else questioning that, Deku was a Power Ranger when they've been gone for so long. Well, in the Power Rangers universe, in one season they're treated as celebrities, and the next they're treated as legends. And I'm just gonna go with that they became sold, they were kind of legends, I guess. And the third and final thing I want to address is by introducing Power Rangers, I've also introduced the Ninja Turtles into this universe. They've crossed over before, so the Ninja Turtles are somewhere in New York, and it's not even any good Ninja Turtles, it's the live action show, so... Disgusting! Anyways, with that out of the way, let's actually jump into the what if. Just like in canon, the UA Sports Festival would get everybody pumped up to be able to show off what they can do. That same day, Uruka reveals her reason for wanting to become a hero. In terms of Deku and Ida's reaction, it doesn't change much, but since All Might has no real business with Deku, he doesn't separate the group. Later that same day, when Deku arrives home, he hears his mom state that someone is waiting for him in the living room. When he gets to his living room, he sees a robot who introduces himself as Alpha 6. He goes on to say that he served as an ally to some of the previous Ranger teams, and he was contacted by Gosei to come and help him. Deku, knowing it's best to get any kind of help he can get, he accepts his offer. Alpha 6 then turns to Inko and asks if he could stay here, and Inko says that he can stay here as long as he helps around the house. With that, Deku begins his training for the UA Sports Festival. Deku would spend his time at school training with Snipe, and I want to say that he would turn into one of the Wild West Rangers just to fit with Snipe's whole cowboy aesthetic. Then whenever Deku's home, Alpha would take his morpher and start, trying to improve it, and over the next 2 weeks, he is able to increase the time that he can stay, morphed in the legendary forms. He'd probably also start doing some physical training, because, he's gonna need it. Anyways, let's get to the sports festival. I forgot to put this in the initial recording, but I feel like the only way Deku would be allowed to get into the sports festival is if, he can't use any of the swords or, laser guns, whatever, that the Power Rangers use. So, yeah, if he uses it, he'd be disqualified. So, yeah, that's the only reason I could think that he'd be able to get into the sports festival. Otherwise, if you don't think so, then, he'd skip out on the sports festival. And unlike in canon, Todoroki doesn't declare war on Deku this time. I mean, he might hint at it, but I don't think Todoroki would see him as a threat. Anyways, let's move on to the first event, which is still the obstacle course, where Todoroki tries to freeze everybody. However, Deku and the other classmates are able to avoid it, because, they'd probably see it coming. The robots would be a bit trickier, as he would have to become the Green Mystic Force Ranger, and buff up, destroying a couple of the robots, which does slow him down a bit, but once he makes himself and the others a clear path, Deku would morph into the Red Dino Thunder Ranger, and with the super speed ability, he'd be able to just barely catch up with Bakugo and Todoroki. This would land Deku in 3rd place, meaning that the race was mostly just between him and Shiozaki on who gets 3rd place. This also means that for the cavalry battle, he's gonna have 200 points. Because of that, Todoroki gets the 10 million points, and everybody turns his attention to him. Bakugo, so furious that Todoroki beat him, declares war on Todoroki. He's not gonna let Icy Hot beat him ever again. Because Deku doesn't have the 10 million points, people would be more open to join him. His team ultimately comes down to Deku, Uraraka, Shoji, and Aoyama. He'll be using Shoji to cover them like he did with Team Mineta, Uraraka to make him more weightless and make it easier for him to move. Aoyama is placed there for long range attacks. Also, Mei Hatsume would probably end up in Team Shinzo, replace Aoyama. Team Mineta would be wildly different, but let's not get into that. With their team being in 3rd place, they're not attacked as much as, Bakugo or Todoroki. They are able to steal some headbands thanks to the telekinesis from the Red and Silver Space Rangers. During the final minutes of the battles, Team Bakugo finishes off Team Monoma and heads off to fight Team Todoroki, since they had the 10 million headband. Meanwhile, Deku says that they should go for the 10 million point headband. He says that while Bakugo distracts Todoroki, he'll just fly in and take the headband. Once Team Bakugo starts fighting with Team Todoroki, Deku morphs into the Blue Overdrive Ranger. And thanks to the enhanced jump and Uraraka's, zero gravity, he's able to make the huge jump. Deku lands on his right side and takes 2 of the headbands. With the possibility that Deku might have the 10 million points, Bakugo flies after him, yelling at Deku that he's not gonna let some quirkless bastard just beat him. As Bakugo gets close to, taking away the headbands, he is shot out of the air by Aoyama's nasal laser. Just before Bakugo hits the ground, the time runs out. This means the top 4 teams are 1. Todoroki, because they would have probably kept that 10 million headband. 2. Team Deku, followed up by Team Bakugo. Number 4 is Team Shinzo. After the match, Deku walks back to that little waiting area that they have. On his way there, he sees both Bakugo and Todoroki giving him this death stare. From here, we can skip straight to the tournament. Just like in canon, Ojiro drops out, which means Tetsu Tetsu moves forward. Now, because the fights were randomized in canon, I'll be randomizing for this what if. The first fight is Bakugo versus Sero, and Bakugo would easily take the win. Now granted, Sero wouldn't lose as fast as he did against Todoroki, but Bakugo would still take the win. The second fight is Momo versus Shinzo, and I do think that Momo would take the win here, due to the fact that she is smarter than Deku, and I doubt she would reply to him after Ojiro said not to. The third fight is Tetsu Tetsu versus Mei, and I'm pretty sure it would just play out the same with her fight against Ida, so Tetsu Tetsu would take the win. The fourth fight is Todoroki versus Aoyama, and unfortunately Todoroki would take this one easy. He'd probably lose his match a lot quicker than Sero did in canon, so sad days. Fifth match is Ida versus Kaminari. I do think Kaminari has a chance of winning as long as he doesn't waste all his energy in one attack. The sixth match is Shoba versus Uraraka, and in the interest of not revealing Shoba's quirk, I'ma say Uraraka wins this one, but she just barely wins. Honestly, he would probably win, but let's I don't want to spoil anything, so let's just move on. The second to last match is Mina versus Deku. This would be interesting as they've had to work together, in the last part of this what if, meaning they'd be more aware of how the other fights. However, due to Deku's morphs being more versatile, I'll give him the win. The last fight in this round will be Kirishima versus Shoji, and this was honestly the hardest fight for me to decide, but after asking around, many and I believe that Shoji would take the win, mainly due to the fact that Shoji is superior in almost every which way except for strength and defense. But if you think Kirishima would win, let me know down in the comments below and why. After this fight, it would lead us to the quarterfinals, where we have the first match, Bakugo versus Momo. I do think Bakugo would take this win, but I don't think it would be easy. Remember, Momo is the strongest one in the class, so she'd be able to at least hold her own somewhat. The next match is Tetsu Tetsu and Todoroki, and come on, Todoroki would take this one easily. Tetsu Tetsu might be able to break some of the ice, however, he still wouldn't be able to take the win. The third match will be Ida fighting one of his close friends, Uraraka. Before the match would begin, Deku would go and talk to both of them about what kind of strategies they could use. But since I ain't no tactician, I'm just gonna leave that to Deku. When stepping on the stage, both Uraraka and Ida reconfirmed that none of them are gonna back down. Once the match starts, Uraraka would use her quirk to make her move faster, she'd touch her feet. Unfortunately, I don't see Uraraka winning this match at all, which is unfortunate, but that's how it's gotta be. After the match, Deku goes to check up on her, and the interaction goes about the same as it did in canon. Their little chit chat is cut short when Deku remembers that he's got a match with Shoji coming up. Speaking of which, let's get to that match. When they both step into the arena, Shoji tells him that, he's not going to be holding back. He wants to win this. Deku replies that, he's glad to be fighting him. As the match begins, Deku morphs into the Green Mystic Force Ranger, and he goes on to buff himself up, and the two rush at each other. This is where both of them clash fists repeatedly, but after a few punches, Deku backs off and demorphs, and then morphs into the pink Overdrive Ranger, allowing him to turn invisible, and thanks to this, he goes silent, realizing that, raw strength alone won't be enough to defeat Shoji. Deku waits for his opportunity to sneak attack Shoji, since he realized that, raw strength alone won't be enough to take him out. Once he's ready to attack, Deku tries to sneak attack him, but thanks to Shoji's quirk, he hears him coming and then punches him right in the face. He would try this once more before realizing that sneak attacking is ultimately useless against Shoji once again. Deku would remain silent for such a long time that Present Mike would even question if he's still in the arena. Shoji would, reassure everybody that he still is. You can hear that faint mumbling. Once his morph runs out of time, Shoji tells him that they should end this already. It's been going on for too long. Deku nods in agreement as he morphs into the yellow s.p.d. Ranger. which allows him to clone himself 3 times over, trying to somewhat replicate Shoji's duply armed quirk. This means Shoji has 4 people to look out for. The 4 of them would gang up on Shoji with little success. Since Shoji is the stronger one in this match, he manages to knock unconscious the 3 clones. He does try to throw Deku out of the stage, but Deku just barely manages to stay in the arena. His feet are basically dangling off the edge. Shoji walks up to Deku saying that he's fought well, but he has lost this fight. Before Shoji can grab him, the 3 clones get up. 2 of them restrain his arms, while the 3rd one gets him into a chokehold. The real Deku then slides under Shoji's feet and kicks him over the edge. Once Shoji hits the floor, Deku is declared the winner. Deku then helps Shoji up and they leave as we got semifinals matches to do. The first match is Bakugo vs Todoroki. Since Todoroki never really showed off his full power against Deku, Bakugo wouldn't know how much Todoroki is actually holding back. This would most likely go the way it did in canon. However, after the fact, Deku would try to talk to Todoroki about, holding back. This is where we get the whole backstory of Todoroki. And unlike in canon, Bakugo, who is eavesdropping, does make his presence known. As he's pissed off that Todoroki held back during their fight, he's claiming that this basically is a meaningless victory for him. Deku would try to calm down Bakugo, but he can't do anything, so Bakugo just kind of walks off. The final match in this round is Ida versus Deku. However, before the match can start, Bakugo walks on stage requesting that he gets his rematch with Todoroki. Midnight tells him it's not possible, he's already beaten him, plus it'd probably turn out the same either way. Bakugo will then start throwing a tantrum like he did in canon, but Midnight puts him to sleep and they carry him off the stage. This allows for Deku and Ida to get their fight underway. Ida states that they've been friends for a while, but he's not going to lose. He's going to honor the family name of Ingenium. Deku tells him that he's not going to lose and becomes the Red Dino Thunder Ranger. The 2 then start having an all-out speed fight. The main difference between their fighting styles is that Ida is more aggressive and attacks with his feet, while Deku is more defensive and attacks with his hands. With one strong clash, it sends them both to the opposite sides of the arena. Ida will then start running at him at full speed, and at the last minute he activates his reciprocal burst, which Deku is just barely able to dodge. Deku realizes that he's gonna need more speed and yells out Super Dino Mode. The patterns on his suit transform into spiked armor and his helmet roars. This allows him to keep up with Ida and his reciprocal burst. Once Ida's engines stall, Deku would end up taking the win. After this match, Ida would get a phone call about his brother who has been taken down by a villain. From here, we can go straight into the final fight with Bakugo versus Deku. Bakugo, still mad about his half-assed win, states that he'll take out his anger on Deku, like the good old days. Deku says he's not the same person that he used to get bullied, as he morphs into the blue s.p.d. Ranger. Bakugo starts the fight by rushing at Deku and gets ready to attack him. At the last second, Deku creates a force field, which allows Deku to get a gut punch in on Bakugo. Bakugo yells that he's gonna kill him and won't let him get another hit in. Deku continues to use the force fields to counter all of Bakugo's explosions. However, that's all he's doing, just blocking and not attacking. Once Deku has an opening, he morphs into the yellow Dino Thunder Ranger, where he uses a sonic scream to push back Bakugo. Bakugo yells that he's gonna kill him now. Deku then morphs into the blue Jungle Fury Ranger. As Bakugo flies into the air, Deku begins to channel his aura. And this goes on for a bit until Bakugo gets really close to Deku. Bakugo uses his Holzer impact at the same time Deku releases the Jaguar spirit animal. The impact causes a huge explosion that breaks that part of the arena. When the dust settles, Deku is revealed to be outside of the arena, unconscious, while Bakugo is on the other side of the arena, laying down about to lose his consciousness. Once both of them wake up, they have the award ceremony. This means Bakugo gets first, Deku second, Todoroki and Ida would both tie in for third. After the recovery girl sees that Deku is well enough to go home, he goes home. When arriving home, Inko and Alpha celebrate how far Deku got in the tournament. 2 days after the sports festival, Class 1A is all healed up. We see Deku making his way to school on a galaxy glider. Take your pick of which space ranger he uses, cause it doesn't really matter. Deku will still run into Ida, and after Ida lectures him about using his, ranger powers outside of school, Deku would go on to ask about his brother. Ida would be a little bit more open to Deku, however only enough to imply that he might do something. Not something concrete though. Later that day, the students get to pick their hero names. For the most part, nothing would change. However, Deku's new hero name would be Green Ranger Deku. Midnight would allow this hero name because, it fits his whole ranger thing. Plus, it's nothing like King Explosion murder, so. When it comes down to the internships, Deku would ultimately only get one request. One from a hero agency called s.p.d. Anyways, that's where I'm gonna end it off for now. I do want to address that originally I was gonna do the sports festival and the Stain arc all in one video, but it became a little too long for me, so I'm gonna leave the Stain arc for a different video. I also do want to address that I could have had Deku actually win the tournament by having him use Rangers that could use water or wind to put out Bakugo's, explosions, but I didn't want to give him the win, so that's how we got to this ending. Also, I can't wait until we get to later parts of the show where I can finally start bringing back the Megazords, because I have some ideas of when I can bring them back. But that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.